Hello, everyone. Hope you all are healthy and doing well. I'll come straight to the point regarding channel update. A while back, I had announced that after 3 video essays and 2 podcasts, I'll stop the channel indefinitely. I've put 2.5 video essays. The Scorsese one is essay/documentary, and 1 podcast. And the other podcast, I just couldn't fix up the time with the guest and the topics. We couldn't just decide the topics. So that couldn't happen. However, I hope that will happen in future whenever the lockdown is lifted and we get time. Somehow we'll finish that up. As far as video essays are concerned, this is it. There will be no more video essays on the channel. Although there aren't many videos on the channel, but the content has constantly been in the back of my mind. It has constantly occupied my mind every time I've done any other work. And I need to stop that. I need to stop it because I want to concentrate on the stuff that I really want to do, which is making my own movies, writing my own script. And I can't concentrate on it 100% unless and until I'm free of every other work. And I need it because I'm not talented enough to compartmentalize my mind enough so that I can concentrate on multiple things at the same time. I can't do that. I'm not even talented writer enough so that I can just sit and start filling up pages. I need to spend a lot of time staring at blank pages to get anything out. So for myself to allow that much of time, something has to make way. And video essays at the moment feels like the only thing that has to. Video essays have to stop. I thank you all for your support and for your patience all this while, especially of my Patreon supporters. Without you, the podcast series would not have been possible. The equipment for it was bought using the money funded by the Patreon supporters, so I thank you very much for that. This doesn't mean, however, that the channel is terminated. The current content will stay as it is. Plus, any new podcast, if they do get recorded in the future, if I find some guests and find their time, they will appear on the channel. On top of it, what I'm trying to do by shutting off the video essays is I'm trying to spend that time on honing up my storytelling skill. Now, they could be through short films or they could be through short documentaries. I have particularly been inspired by 2 YouTube channels, Adam Westbrook and LEMMiNO. I'll put up a link to each of their videos in the description. Do check it out. They're fantastic. And I want to do something on that line if I'm doing a YouTube content. Those sort of content do take a lot of time and I haven't yet decided on my subject. But if I'm making content, I want to move on from talking about movies. Instead, I want to tell my own stories. And that sort of style and format feels like something I can play in that zone. If it works, if something good does come up, I'll put it up on the channel. The Patreon members can continue their support if they think this is something worth investing their money in, or they can just decide otherwise. It's all up to you. That's the update. Once again, thank you very much for all your support and patience. And now I'll quickly move on to the Q&A part. One of the most frequent questions that I've been asked is the softwares. What are the softwares that I use? So I always use Adobe Suite. That's my go-to thing. I use a Windows machine. So I have an Adobe pack. Editing, I use Premiere Pro. For graphics, I do either Photoshop or Illustrator, depending on what sort of graphics I want. For motion graphics and compositing is After Effects. And for sound and audio is Audition. For audio recording, I used to use Samsung C01U USB microphone, but then I upgraded it to Zoom S6. And there are a couple of cardioid microphones. But that were used for podcast. I also started to use them for the remaining video essays also. Another frequently asked question is what filmmaking books should one read? You don't become a filmmaker by reading any books. You learn it by making movies or make videos, do anything. But hands-on practice is the only way to learn. I don't know anything else. I did not learn a single filmmaking book in my life. To learn filmmaking, I then read it. I read a couple of filmmaking books later, but that was mostly because a lot of people recommended it, and I just wanted to just get them through. But those books helped, but but my 10 years of my own struggle helped me learn a lot more than those books. However, for the screenwriting, you can start off by reading. There's a book called Story by Robert McKee. In my opinion, that's the best screenwriting book. There's one by Sitfield called I think it's called Fundamentals of Screenwriting, something like that. Please do not read that. Don't read anything by Sitfield. It's absolute garbage. It's sold in a way that there's some sort of a formulaic way of writing screenplays, which is not. I'm like, that will only hinder and curb your imagination instead of helping him flourish it. So please avoid anything. Please avoid any screenwriting book except for Story by Robert McKee. That's also, I'm saying it, just read that, but don't take it as a gospel. Apart from that, what I would highly recommend instead of a screenwriting book for you to read some books on creative writing, especially by Stephen King. It's called On Writing, and another one by Ray Bradbury. It's called Zen in the Art of Writing. Both the books are focused on flourishing your creative writing, and screenwriting is just it's a sister discipline of creative writing. It's more specialized form, a specialized disciplined form of writing, creative writing. So I would suggest, if you know creative writing, you know screenwriting. I'm like, it's like if you know filmmaking, you can know. It's easier to know film analysis, easier to get into film analysis. So yeah, those are among the frequently asked questions. Then now I'll go to the questions that I had invited people to ask. Hold on, I'll just open the questions. On Twitter, Samveg Chauhan, I'm really sorry if I'm butchering the name. Samveg Chauhan asks, why do you think Russell kept Frank's glasses with him before he boarded the plane? This is about the Irishman. So if you haven't seen the Irishman, please skip to this particular timestamp. I'll put it on the screen. Please, I'll be spoiling it. Russell is asking Frank to murder his best friend. His best friend has had enough important meetings attended in company of Frank. I'm talking Jimmy Hoffa. He never wore glasses in those meetings. As far as in the movie is concerned, it's never shown doing that. For this important meeting, if Frank is wearing glasses, something is wrong. Hoffa was reckless in the movie. The character Hoffa is reckless, but he's not stupid. He can guess something is wrong. Russell can't have that. It has to look as organic as possible for Hoffa to be murdered. That's why he takes Frank's glasses. Pranab asks, how to appreciate classics which I have not been able to appreciate as much? What are some advices you have for people who are willing to appreciate movies which he or she doesn't usually watch? Second part, I'm not very sure how to answer that. As far as the first question, one of the most important things that slips away while watching classics in current times is the context in which the movie was made. And that's very important for to understand why that particular film is a classic. For example, if you look at Paisa, if you look at acting, the acting doesn't hold up, especially considering what kind of acting we have been exposed to in both Hollywood, Europe, and in India. The acting is too melodramatic, but that was the way. That was the way of acting in those kind of movies in the 50s and the 60s. So you have to take that as a given. You can't, that's not a point which you criticize. So the context matters. Take example of Citizen Kane. A lot of people are, what is so special about Citizen Kane? I've seen this done in so many movies. Yes, but that was the first time that sort of storytelling and that sort of camera work and that sort of sound editing and everything as far as technicality and storytelling is concerned took place at that time because of Citizen Kane. That film changed everything. So in that context, yes, that's why Citizen Kane is a classic. Whether you like it or not doesn't matter. You can hate it. You are absolutely allowed to hate it. But dismissing it as a classic because you hate it, that's not done, because then you're missing out on the context for why it's a classic. Citizen Kane is like that. Rashomon is like that. Seventh Seal. I'm like, there are so many. Passion of Joan of Arc comes to mind. So yeah, keep the context in mind. What do you think? Oh, sorry. Shobhit Sham Narang asks, what do you think about remakes? Does it hold any value? How much should be retained and how much be changed? What I love is if you take an inferior film and remake that instead of taking a film that is already a success and then remaking that. That's for me is more interesting. Take an inferior film that those sort of things, those sort of elements did not work in the film. I'm gonna remake that film. I'm gonna correct all the blemishes, and in fact, I'm gonna add my own elements. That's something that should be that's something that filmmakers should strive for, I think. Deepen Agarwal asks, favorite character played by a director in his own movie. Monsieur Hulot, created by Jacques Tati, and the favorite film in which that character appears, my favorite film would be Playtime. Highly recommend, watch Playtime. It's one of the greatest films ever made. Abhishek Mitra, what are the top 15, 20 YouTube channels you follow? 15, 20 would be too much. Let me just open the channels that I follow the most, or like actively seek out the content of. 3 Blue, 1 Brown, LEMMiNO, Adam Westbrook, I already mentioned. Numberphile, I love Numberphile. Vsauce is the best. Adam Neely for music, Joe Rogan podcast, Sean Carroll's Mindscape, The Royal Institution, that's also a science lecture series. Cinefix, Being Human, Curse Gazard, Cinema Cartography, Blank on Blank, Vlog Brother, Verge Science, TED Ed, and Veritasium. I think those would be my favorite, most viewed YouTube channels. All right, next question. Bookworm Tigress, how to write comedy? What is comedy, in fact? And then there's another rest of the question you can read. You know what? I must have finished. There was a video essay that I was going to make. It was titled "What Makes Us Laugh." And it was entire dissection of comedy. And I had done for almost a year. My entire research went on for almost a year. I had scarfed through books and scientific literature through it. And I was like 50-60% into writing the script. And I was researching and writing at the same time. So while I was doing research, I came across this one channel, a YouTube channel called Is This Fantasy? By this girl. I forgot her name now. And her video was exactly on the same topic that I wanted to cover. And she has covered all the topics that I came across during my research. And I think her video was quite fantastic. So I dropped the idea. So I'll put the link in the description of that video. Do seek that video out. I think a lot of your questions regarding comedy will be answered in that video. Bakwas Rider asks, worst films that you regret spending time on? I won't go into films, but this one incident that pops into my mind, 2003, I vividly remember. 2003, I was sitting in my house with my mother and we were both getting bored out of our wits. So I asked my mom, let's go out watch a movie. And there was this new movie that had come out. I think it had been 2 weeks that the film has come out. And I lived in Amravati, so the movies would run for quite a while. They won't go away. Multiplex hadn't started yet in Amravati. And both of us went into the theater, sat down, movie started. Half an hour in, we both wanted to just leave. It was a horrendous film. And the name of that film is My Prem Ki Diwani Ho. That's probably one of my worst movie-going experience ever. Do you have a list of Simran asks, do you have a list of movies that you're guilty of enjoying? There are a lot of bad movies that I do enjoy, simply because I grew up with them, but I'm not guilty of enjoying them. I love Dil Jale. I love Waqt Hamara Hai. That's an Akshay Kumar Sunil Shetty film. I used to love most of Akshay Kumar Sunil Shetty films. Mohra. I love Mohra. Then what else? There was the movie Chiranjeevi was in it. Chiranjeevi Kader Khan. Takdeer Wala. Yeah, Takdeer Wala. Then what else? I love Jumanji. Now I watch it, it's very cheesy, but I loved it when it came out. I think those movies probably. Lok Parlok was another one of those films. Hatim Tai. Virana is one of the cheesiest and sleaziest horror film, but I saw it when I was a kid and I loved it. Those are the films that I enjoy them, but I'm not guilty of enjoying them. Ashin Chakrabarti asks, you took Munna Bhai for the plot versus character video, Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara for subtext video when there are better films to be talked about. I think this means you are not apathetic towards views and subs. Then why do you want to quit YouTube? My being apathetic towards views and subs are for different reasons. It's not like I'm seeking out views and subs. Like those weren't the motivations to do all these videos. So it's like subs and views in a way help you understand how much of your content spread. So if you're talking about certain ideas, how much of your idea spread. So that's the only sort of quantitative understanding that you can have. Otherwise, I never cared much for views and subs. As far as the first point, taking Munna Bhai and Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara as the viewpoint. Of course, yes, there are better examples of it. However, the point is, the kind of audience that I want to target is not hardcore cinephile who already know all of this stuff. Because then what's the point? Then I'm just creating an echo chamber. That's not the point. The point is to take people who are enthusiastic enough to know more. And once they know more, they help out, then it trickles down. The knowledge then trickles down, and then you move a step up. So that was the whole idea. And for me to do that, the only possible way was to take examples which I can assume are popular enough that most of people have seen it, and then take that example as a linchpin, and then weave the entire video essay around that one particular example, so that you are constantly hooked there, because you know that this particular example is something that you are aware of and you care for, is gonna come back, and all things gonna tie up on that particular point. And for that, you are ready to make this journey with me. So it's like it's a calculated decision that you make. So that's why. Otherwise, I can keep talking about Tarkovsky, and I could have kept talking about Bergman and Fellini. But the point is, only a few hundred people would have seen that video, and they would have happy in their echo chamber. I didn't want that. That's why. Sharon asks, is the craft much more important or the story? Story and craft are tightly woven to each other. You cannot separate them. Ultimately, realize the medium is storytelling. So telling is as important as the story, and story is as important as the telling. The two of them make this whole storytelling aspect. So calling is craft more important than the story, or story is more important, is a meaningless question, because both are one and the same. Akhil asks, can cinema be part of our education? I think it should be. If not cinema, what I would love is if the visual literacy becomes part of our education system, because so much of communication all around the world, practical communication, I'm not even talking about artistic communication, the practical communication happens through visuals, and we don't know how those visuals work, how the color schemes works, how typography works, how visual semiotics work. And I think if we can get that into regular middle school education, in fact, I think that would be a big win. If not movies. Movies is a later part. As I said, cinema is again a specialization within visual communication. If you can teach visual communication early enough, at least the basics of it, it would be a great help. Ayush asks, what advice would you give an aspiring filmmaker who is intimidated by the vastness of the field? There is so much to learn. How should one begin? Begin one day at a time. Take it one day at a time. Take it one step at a time. It's like cricket. You're not going to score 100th run first. You have to start from the first run. And be patient enough to do one run at a time. There is some sort of fear of missing out that is too prevalent in current time, that you want everything to be you want to learn everything in one day. Oh, is there a single book which can help me learn filmmaking? Is there a single book which can help me writing? No, it's a constant struggle. You take it one day at a time. You learn a little. You increment it day by day by constantly learning. It's like learning an instrument. You don't learn a musical instrument in a single day. It takes years and years and years of practice. Filmmaking is a craft. Give yourself enough time, and don't be hard on yourself if you don't learn quickly. Some people learn fast, some people learn slow. I'm a slow learner. It took me 10 years to figure out shit. Don't compete with anybody else. Compete with yourself. This progress will happen. It will be slow at first, but then it will be exponential as you spend more and more time with it. So yeah, take it one day at a time. Don't hurry. We are in a long game. This is a long game. We are not playing 2020. This is a test series, and it's a continuous test series. It's like a league. It's 38 games, not a single game. All right. Hope that helps. So yeah, that's it. Those were all the questions. Hope my answers made sense. This was all impromptu. I never do this. Please take care, everyone. Take care of your health. Take care of your family's health. Take care of everybody around you. Help people. And keep supporting good cinema. Thank you very much.